Hey guys, Dave here, and welcome back to another ad-free episode of FFBE War of the Visions. In today's episode, the main purpose is to get you ready for the Ifrit raid that's coming up. So there are multiple different combos. There are even SR units that work. I'll go over all of the units. One is actually a free unit that everybody has, and I'll explain the rewards, how to farm most efficiently, the bonus boss, how to do the bonus boss. I'll give links so you can actually see JP videos for that, and I'll give you new strategies that weren't around on JP that are going to help you do it even easier than they did. So without further ado, let's jump in and take a look. Alright, so here these are going to be the best units, but before we do that, let's take a look at Ifrit to see why these units work. So this picture was the only 100 I could find, and this one's pre-broken, so his stats have been lowered. So Ifrit is going to have 10% slash, and I think that's minus 10% magic. Okay, so Gumi is trying to say that magic and water magic is going to be the way to go, but we know better than they do. Now here you can see his fire is minus 38%. Well, that's a level 20 rain limit break, taking it down. It's innately 0. So Ifrit, the god of fire, 0 fire resist, kind of unbelievable, but the age-old saying, fight fire with fire, holds true right here. So Rain's limit break did that, and you can see his minus stats below that. That is due to 1, speed break with the night job on Rain, and 2, the undermine ability. Okay, so Miranda can also lower his spirit. What is it, like 38 or something like that? It's quite a bit. It's either 28 or 38, I believe. So she's going to be strong there. But before we go on to the water team, let's take a look at the rain team. I think this is by far going to be the all-star, like easy peasy cheesy mode for this raid. It was already proven on JP, and I have more knowledge about the event, and I've done more research than they did. Because I've had a lot more time, and I found better combinations for easier damage, which I'll explain. Now, the way you want to build Rain is, you went 3 Grand Shelt Knights and 1 Knight. The Knight is going to break speed, and the Grand Shelt Knights, one is going to use the limit break, another is going to use undermine, the Knight is going to use speed break, okay, and then you're just going to chain soul prominence again and again and again, or the limit break, whichever one does most damage. So you have to check each turn, or if you're building up a maximum chain, like you have 5 or 6 turns in a row, you might just want to do all soul prominence. You'll take a little bit of a damage hit early on, but the later ones will do more damage, and therefore you'll do more damage in the end. So don't always look at the short term, look at the long term of the chain as well, how much the next person's going to do. I mean, who cares if you get a couple less tokens? One-shotting it is going to be a lot more efficient, okay, than using another orb. So don't worry about trying to get number 1 for damage. It's just being selfish, and you're hurting the whole team. All right, so I think 4 Rains is going to be really powerful, but 3 Rains and a Delita might be better. Now here's why. Delita has an ability that drops fire resistance by, I believe, 48%. So right there, it's like, oh great, well we can throw him in there and he'll be better than having 1 Rain in there. That might not be true because he doesn't really have any chaining abilities. Now he's going to hit hard, and he has a self-buff meditation that you can use probably before his fire resist thing, hit his fire resist on the second turn. But since he can't chain, that might be his downfall. However, I got reports that his and Rain's fire resistance debuff stack. I don't think they stack up to, what would be like 86%. I think they said 55%. So if that's true, if they allow you like half of each buff to go through, or 2/3, and you can get minus 55% fire resist, then yes, you want 1 Delita and 3 Rains, and that's going to be your best combo. But if not, then I think, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. 4 Rains or 3 Rains and 1 Delita will be probably the best combo. Okay. Now I did confirm that you can steal time on this as long as they don't change it from JP. So now that I've talked about the fire units, let's take a look at the water units. All right, so we'll take a look first at Severo, I think. Now he's a black mage, but he also is a red mage. That means he has jamming thrust, and he has the black mage magic boosting thing, so he can actually hit really hard. Okay, now I don't know if you're aware or not, but magic does not chain. So you do not want to make a magic chain. You want to make a water/chain. Okay, Severo has red mage. Jamming thrust is a slash ability based on magic. And all of these units I've put up here have the ability to do a water/chain. That is what you want. You do not want a magic chain. Okay, you want a magic/chain. Now, moving on to Ramada, she can steal time. She can be your time stealing unit, a little bit slow, so you might want Odin on her, even though it's going to gimp her damage, just to get her agility up. Maybe Shiva, if you don't have Odin, because Shiva can get up to 17 agility. And then maybe like Ziza or Venera, or a high agility trust on her on top of that, so she can steal time as much as possible. And keep in mind, you never want to steal time the first turn. Let the boss take their turn, then you steal time. So that unit can do like a debuff or something else to help the group, cut the boss's AP, something, but not steal time the first turn. Okay, so that would be Ramada's job. She also has 2 water/abilities, so you can use those if you have leeway. Okay, but basically you're probably going to be stealing time. Now Terrell, if you know whether this is a male or a female unit, please post it in the comments below. Because you look at this, like the face and the hairstyle looks like a woman. It looks like a breastplate, a female breastplate, and they're showing a lot of skin. But I've got reports that it's a guy, and I still don't know. So if you know whether it's male or female, just post below, because it's hard to tell. Now this unit is a knight, so you can do the Trinity break, your speed break on top of steal time, or in place of it, whatever you have available, and then other knight abilities, low AP using ones, just to continue the water/chain. Now Iridia, she's the new unit, as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it in this cut, but she has, I think, confusion and stun resistance. So based on the past raids that Gumi's thrown in there, they've made them harder than the JP ones. So you might want to prepare your team, whether you're doing the fire or the water or whatever other route, for those 2 types of status effects. Okay, I think there might be vision cards and or items for those, but I'll let you guys look into that and do the research. Now Iridia, you 100% want her as a spellblade in this to do the water, Waterga Ken and Watera Ken or something like that sword. They have a lot of fire killer on them too, and they should easily hit the damage cap every turn. But since all of these units here are like single hitters, that's why you need steal time. Now Miranda, again, she's a red mage, and she also has resistance break. So Miranda's going to be very strong in here. I think it's either 28 or 38%. Yeah, I'll probably post it in the comments later. But that's going to increase your damage by that much. So that's huge. So having one Miranda in there, if you're going to do the water route, is basically like a must. And then she can do jamming thrust, just like Severo above her. And that's going to be really good. So most of those units there, after you get a chain of 1 or 2, they should be hitting for the maximum damage for that. But that's pretty much it for the water units. I'm sure there's other combos. I'm sure you could use Orlando's. Like I just put up a video today with an all Orlando team, a dark team, and an ice team defeating the Warrior of Light raid boss in one shot. So I don't think these are going to be the only 2 teams, but I think they're going to be the easiest 2 teams for it. Now the Warrior of Light raid right now, there's no good rewards. There's no materials or new items, and you can single player farm the armor. So it's kind of just like for fun. That's why I'm experimenting with different things. But for this one, there's going to be real rewards, a real need to push for ranking, and you're going to want to do it as efficiently as possible. So I believe that these two teams are going to be the best way to do that based on what was out on JP. We don't know what's coming out on Global. Okay, having said that, let's move on to the Esper section for this before we move on to the bonus boss. Alrighty, so here's our best loadout. Alright, so the two best Espers are going to be Siren and Iron Giant. So if you don't have Siren, then you might want to use Iron Giant. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody has Siren, and there's no excuse to not have it. But if you haven't leveled up your Siren, I'm giving you plenty of advance before the raid to get yours leveled up. But if you still can't do it, then Iron Giant I think is going to be the next best. Now I think the agility is a little bit lower, and it's not going to have as much magic, but it has 15% slash chain. So you're going slash chain either way, right? For best combo, we need to be able to chain both elemental and physical. So that's your slash chain, and then it also has Beast Killer. Now, don't quote me on it, but in FFBE, Ifrit was a beast. You can't see it in his status window, but I'm almost 100% sure that Ifrit is a beast. So if you know for sure, please post in the comments below to help everyone else out. But I don't know of a way to check right now in the game other than doing a verification. I guess I could check on the trial, but I'll have to do that later, and maybe I'll add a post. Now, the reason Siren is the best, every unit on there except Delita and maybe a couple of the water units, they draw from their magical ability to do a magical slash attack. Therefore, it's based on the enemy faith, their faith, and your magical stat. All right, that's why we don't see Trocier, because Trocier adds 0 damage, because it's kind of confusing. It ends up being a physical slash ability, but it pulls from your magical stat, and it's based on your faith. So you want your faith to be 97 on all of those attackers, and the boss has 100, so you're going to be getting the most damage there, and it counts as a magical ability, even though I say it's still physical because it's slashed. But you can think whatever you want. Now that we've gone over the Espers, and why Siren's the best, because she has those double killers. I think it's 50% more damage plus the magical, so hands down the best. I didn't see anyone using that on JP, probably because they didn't have enough time or they just didn't realize it. But I think it's going to be LOL easy mode if you get your Siren up to like level 60, 72 stars. It's just going to be a raffle stomp because you'll be doing so much damage. Now, vision cards, as always, you want the 15% haste if you're going the rain route. If you're not going the rain route, it's not going to be as important, but it's still a good one to have. Now, Ramu, that adds magical stat percentage, so that's going to be very important for both teams, because that's where you're going to get your damage for all of those units except Delita there. All right, and then if you're going the rain route, you're going to want the Lamia Queen for fire damage. And then if you're going the water route, you're going to want either Siren or the Double Dragon card. Now the Double Dragon card, since you're not going to be having many chains, and you're going to have single hits, you want to take the most advantage of those and get the most damage. Now on Rain, since you're having chain, by the time you get each of those weaker hits up to 9999, it's going to be Ifrit's turn anyway, so the card's not going to be that beneficial for Rain. But regardless of which route you take, you want Echoing Screams, 35 if possible, because that's 35% more damage for all of those units. So again, rain route, you want Lamia Queen, and water route, you want preferably the double-headed dragon, but if not, the next best thing would be the Siren card, because that's going to add water damage to that. So yeah, that's it for vision cards. Next we'll move on to the bonus boss. Alright, so here's the Ifrit arena. Most, if not all, the players should be able to get almost over to where Ifrit is the first turn. Now he has a pretty high agility, but he starts in the upper right hand corner by those two spiky rocks and the tree. But I believe like the first turn he will always come to that middle platform. And you guys start out on the bottom right and the bottom left ones, and the two mages start at the top left and then they come down. Now the mages can hurt. I don't think Ifrit was really hitting people for too much, but the mages I believe were, so you just want to keep that in mind. They might be worth killing, or if you're going in with all reins, it's going to be a breeze. But if you're not going in with all reins, maybe Miranda can tank those, or maybe some of the other units. So you might have to flip-flop some things. You might have to use a hate card instead of one like the Siren or Double Dragon or something like that. But just play around with what works. Again, we don't know what Gumi's going to throw at us. They're probably going to make it harder. They might have status effects. They might hit harder. They might be quicker. We don't know yet. But this is just an idea of what the ring looks like, so you have a heads up. All right, now does this look familiar? Remember Chocolate Flan? Well, minus 20% missile, minus 10% wind, plus 10% lightning? Oh, sorry, Frederica. So yeah, this is another one for Lucia, and not Frederica. Poor Frederica, even though she has double shot. So this is a Lucia one. I've posted screenshots of it before. I have more screenshots, but there's not much to say here. So it's kind of like Lucia or struggle with multiple attempts. So let's take a look at what gear will be best. All right, so best loadout, I believe is going to be Tetrasulfid as the Esper, since it has missile attack. I didn't see anything with Metal Killer, but I might have just overlooked something. But I believe the Cactuar is Metal Killer, and it's not a stone thing, since the Metal Slayer sword works on it. So I think the Tetrasulfid is going to be the best one, but if you don't have that, maybe go for Odin or Ifrit or something with a high attack. For vision cards, the Scion is going to be one of the best with high agility. You might be able to sneak a Steel Time unit in there, but I didn't really see many videos on this. Like if you can, then great, then maybe you don't need that. But you can easily do it with 4 Lucias. It's probably the easiest, so having that card is nice. Then Tetrasulfid there for wind, Ifrit for attack, and Frederica's Dream there for your missile damage. Now I still have the double-headed dragon up there, but I don't think it's really going to benefit you other than just having the highest flat-out attack on a card and good hit points. The reason why I mentioned it in the rain part, with chainers, you're probably never going to hit the 9999 in the chain. You might, but it might be like one character. So you're hardly going to benefit at all from that. You would benefit more from having the attack to get like your first, second, third chain, doing more damage with the Ifrit there. So the 4 cards minus the dragon are going to be the best in my opinion. Okay, so here's a screenshot I used in a previous video. Here's pretty much proof that double-headed dragon isn't going to really help, because we're 15 chain and we're still only hitting for like 14k. However, if your chain gets high enough, her double trigger might cap out the damage. So there might be a use for the double-headed dragon, but again, by the time you get there, it's probably going to be the Sabotender's turn, so I think you're going to get a greater benefit from Ifrit. We'll have to, in the end, wait and see to find out, but that's just what I think based on rough estimates. Okay, but you see here, you basically want to corner him there, but the thing that you have to be careful with is he moves around, okay, and he can hit. I think he does his little needle moves, and I saw a couple Lucias die a couple times. You also have to maintain range but still box him in, so it's kind of tricky. And you have the ledge there, and her as a gunner is kind of tricky, so you might want to have her as a ranger just in case you can't do any attack. Sharpshooting is better than nothing, or a ranger ability is better than nothing, so just keep that in mind, because you have that ledge right there, and it's going to be tricky if you're only gunner. And last but not least, what you've all been waiting for is the reward. So, there's only a couple reasons we do these events. One, because we deem the game as fun, And yeah, the raids are fun in my opinion to a certain degree. Then they get really tedious and boring. Unless you try different unit combos or going with new players or you're on voice chat, just being silly. But that aside, there's the crafting materials you need to make one up on the screen. It's going to be like the same as the others. You need, 1 mega crystal for 4-star, 5 for 5, etc. If you're not sure, go look it up on a site. So for the 3 versions, you have Vital, which at first glance looks like garbage, but for units like Whisper, who benefit from hit points, and with the stacking hit points and other stats in the future from all 3 slots, those Vital things could be really good on units like Whisper or units like Stern and Ketone, and I think maybe Victora. Any units that can use Drain Force. The more hit points, the more damage. So keep that in mind too. So don't just say, oh, Vital equals garbage. For every weapon, yeah, because it's so low, it's a joke. But for this, no. Now, Shield, it's kind of well-rounded, but Barrier is also well-rounded. So the biggest bang for the buck is Barrier, because you get 18 magic reduce, and you get 10 slash resistance on that as well. So that's going to be good all around. But if you're a little bit worried about the 4 extra % physical, then Shield. But in my opinion, Barrier here is the winner. Now this raid brought back the Platinum Robes, and it also brought back the Alexandrite Ring. So although they use slightly different mats, they still use the Mega Crysts, and you can still farm this again and again and again for that. Now Ifrit drops all that, but the Sabotender, I'm not sure if he drops the Mega Cryst, but he does drop all the other things, and he drops the raid tokens in abundance. So I'm pretty sure that like a level 10 Sabotender is going to be the most lucrative. So now people are going to start to get more picky about their rooms. Do you want to do a level 100 Ifrit, or you want to just try to like sneak in bonus boss rooms all day? It'll also depend on what unit you have, which is kind of nice. Like if you have Lucia from the first raid, but you don't have Rain or Delita or Udidia or Miranda, or you don't have the right gear for them, you don't have Adelard's sword or like Ragnarok for magic, then you always have another option. So I kind of like that. The Behemoth Toneberry raid for Glacilia and Laszlo was the same way. So if you don't have one unit or you're not optimized for that, you can always just seek out the other raid and still do pretty well. So that's pretty cool. But you can get old rewards and new rewards here. So I just wanted to highlight that. Alright guys, so really long video here again, but there's a lot of information to take in here. So if you want to do the best for the raid, if you want to get that +5, now is the time to start preparing, not a week before the raid, not a couple days before the raid. I made that mistake with the vanilla pudding, and I did not get my resonance up for Venera. I ended with a 9 out of 10 on Behemoth, and I struggled in the lower levels. I actually died a couple times because my hit points, I wasn't getting all the Esper hit points, and that's a big chunk right there. So make sure you really do all that stuff in advance. Get your resonance up, get your weapons made, get your armor, start leveling your Siren, everything on Siren. If you want this, the raid is going to be the biggest impact from espers, so you should focus all your espers for raid content only, if you want to make the best out of everything in the game. Okay, so that's it for my spiel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gets you ready for the raid, and I hope you're excited for it. Again, here is our Discord link. We're currently running groups for the Warrior of Light boss. We also just have regular chat and content sharing, knowledge sharing, etc. So if you're interested, come join us. We'd be more than happy to have you. And I'll see you guys on another episode of FFBE War of the Visions. Take care.